Hi, welcome to TechCrunch, a place where we learn and earn technical skills in the most efficient way. Let's make coding fun. All about Java, multi-threading. So in this session, we are going to learn all about importance and live implementation of multi-threading in Java. So before we get into it, let's see what we are going to cover. Since multi-threading is a vast topic, we are going to have it here right now as a basic. We'll see that advanced later. What is multi-threading? Life cycle of a thread, example, implementation, live demonstration, important facts, and the practice project for homework. Now let's see what is actually a multi-threading. Multi-threading is a Java feature that allows concurrent execution of two or more parts of a program for maximum utilization of CPU. To understand it better, let's take a look at this picture which explains you the example of multi-threading. Suppose you are sitting in a system and you are making a document. So you open your MS Word. This is one application. At the back end, you open another application to listen the music, an audio player. Now these two applications are actually on and running right now at the same time. On the other hand, you open the chat conversation with your friend. So there are three applications now is running. Another, you open the mailbox. Now there are four applications. So all these four applications are running at the same time. Now on the other hand, you also open the database and trying to access the files and making a report. Now 5 applications are running at the same time. So all these applications are taken care by CPU with the help of memory and using the threads independently. So what is happening? The CPU is going to allot the memory space for individual threads in the heap memory, and they are taking care independently but at the same time. The status is of all the applications are in running mode and all of them can be accessible and switch from one application to another. So this is what happening in the multi-threading. Now let's see how it works. Each part of such program is called a thread. So you can see the string. This is a virtual string, a thread which is linked with your heap memory to your application. So threads are lightweighted process within a process. Now what is happening when we actually work with the multi-threading? This helps to use your CPU efficiently. That's called the optimized CPU. That's one of the benefit, the most popular benefit of multi-threading is maximum utilization of CPU. Now, when we have a single threaded program, exclusively access to memory files and etc. So what is happening? It is taking entire heap memory to process the entire thread. Now, suppose you have multi-threaded. You have a document writer, you have a PDF reader, you have an audio player threads. So all these three threads are in the same heap memory with a different address location. So this is how we can take care of the memory utilization in a maximum of CPU process. So this is what the most benefit of multi-threading is, maximum utilization of CPU. Now let's take a look at the life cycle. What is happening when we actually create a thread and how it goes and process and taking care individually multiple applications. So a new thread begins its life cycle in a new state. Now first thing is new. It remains in this state until the program starts the thread. It is also referred as a born thread. So runnable. After a newly born thread is started, the thread becomes runnable. A thread in this state is considered to be executing its task. So here, once the new is done, we have the start method which will make the thread into runnable mode. Waiting. Sometimes a thread transitions to the waiting state while the thread waits for another thread to perform a task. That means waiting. Now, what is actually happening in the waiting? Suppose you are writing a code and all of a sudden you got a pop-up and notification from your friend. He's wanted to talk to you. So in that case, you switch from one application, your document writer, to chat application. So in that case, your document writer application thread is in waiting mode and you switch to the chat app. Now, once your chat is done with your friend, you come back to the document writer, and there that mode will move from waiting to resume. So this is how we can switch the threads from one thread to another while waiting or running or sleeping. So many ways you can control the thread. A runnable thread can enter the timed wait state from a specified interval of time. So you can even also have your sleep mode. You can put your application in a sleep mode for a specific interval of time. A thread in this state transitions back to the runnable state when that time interval expires and when the event it is waiting for occurs. So what is happening? These type of features are very important when we actually work in the application where you have any event handling. Terminated dead. That means the thread is closed. A runnable thread enters a terminated state when it completes its task or otherwise terminate. So what is happening when we work in an application? Suppose you are in MS Word and you finish writing your document. Now you close the application. So that makes your thread for the MS Word is terminated. So this is how it works. The life cycle. New, runnable, running, waiting, and dead. Now let's take a look at the implementation. The package which is by default included in Java is lang, which contains the thread API, multi-threading API. You do not need to import or include any specific multi-threading API. It is included in the by default java.lang package. All you need to just call in your program. Now there are two mechanisms with the help of which you can implement the multi-threading in Java. Number one, extending the thread class, and number two, implementing the runnable interface. Now as you can see here, we have discussed about how it works. We have a Java program, we write a program, and inside that program we have a main thread, the main method. The method itself can be defined as a thread. So main method contains your stack and the heap. But in case of multi-threading, it always processes your heap memory. It is very important to understand. The heap memory basically keep it in a temporary mode. So when you switch from one to another application, the thread multi-threading switching the mode of a thread is easy. So this is why we use heap memory. And let's take a look at the implementation, how it goes. With respect to the multi-threading implemented with the help of the runnable interface, there are three steps. Step one, we implement the runnable interface by overriding run method, and this is how we can define public void run, and inside the run method we write our logic, what we have to do it in your multi-threading application. Step 2, instantiate your thread object. Now here we have to call the thread object using constructor and define the runnable thread object, and this will be your string thread name. So the thread method can be override here in the second step. Now the third step, all we need to just simply start the thread. So we just call run method and execute it, and we call the define the start method. So this will make your multi-threading implemented with the help of runnable interface. Now let's take a look at the extends thread. How extends thread will help you to implement the multi-threading. This is very simple. First, we extend the thread class in your class name. Suppose you have a thread class name which is extends the thread class. Number two, we override the run method, calling thread object using constructor and thread runnable. Start the thread, execute the call to run, void start. Now let's take a look at the demonstration and see how it can implement. So this is my Eclipse IDE, and here I'm going to have a class multi-threading. Let's first see how we can implement the multi-threading by extending the thread class, demo 1. So we are going to here, what we are going to do, we are going to extend the thread class. So before that, the first step, we have to have a class which extends your thread class. Once this is done, the next we need to have a run method implemented. So Java code for thread creation by extending the thread class, we need to override our run method. So let's first step have a run method implemented. Inside this method, we can call and perform any operation you want to do it. So right now, just for the TechRanch created thread and simple some thread name, you can have so many method. You can give the information of your thread here. Suppose current thread or last thread and get an ID. You can get the ID of it and just mention some label the method, mention the message running. It's in a running mode, or you can mention that also in a like this. So this is my run method implemented, and you can use it in a exception because using the exception will always good practice and make our code quality better. So let's have it in a try and catch exception block. This will help you to debug the code and maintain the code quality is very important and efficient. Throwing an exception in case if it is creating any error. The reason exception will help you to process and provide the information because these type of programs are internally processed. So it's hard to debug if in case there is any issues or program throws any errors. Now next step, we are going to have our main method. And once this is done, inside the main method, we can have some variable or number or anything specific with number 5. Just make it a simple program to understand how it works and put it in a loop so that we can call it and define the number of threads you want it to work on. Suppose your applications is itself contains so many programs running, like some music player which can also add the music playlist. So those things can be done here. Multithreading demo 1 and the class object and creating an object and constructor. And once this is done, you can call the method and see how it works. So once this is done, you can put it even sleep mode and see, check out all the methods you can do it. Get the name, method name, you can get the method name, you can print the value of it. And here you can also put it into sleep for 200 milliseconds and get the value of it. This is 200 milliseconds. There is showing some error. It's because of the throws declarations. So let's declare one exception. So this is my, okay, we don't need this one. This is my live implementation for multi-threading implemented using extend thread class mechanism. Let's take a look at the execution, how it works. public static void name. Yep. So you can see here, TechCrunch created thread 10 is running, thread 0, thread 1, and thread 2, and thread 3, and thread 4. And it goes to the 8. You see? It's just an example. You can perform any operation. Suppose you can call addition for one thread and subtraction for another thread. So this is how it's working. So you can see it's actually sleeping for 2000 milliseconds for after the execution of start. Is running and it is waiting. Now it is running and it is waiting. So this is how it goes till 8 threads. So it created 8 thread, which is in a running mode. Now it is closed. So it is a good practice to always close or terminate your thread in the end. Let's take a look with implementation using implement Runnable Interface. Multi-threading demo 2, and have a main method itself before. And since it is already included your lang package, so you don't have to actually. Okay, so let's see our multi-threading implementation using implement in Runnable Interface. So here, first thing first, we have to have implements Runnable Interface with your class. Now it's showing some error. Our unimplemented method, that is run. So the next step is about overriding your run method. Inside the run method, we can have our try and catch exception block. Inside the try, we can call our thread and create our thread. TechCrunch created. Thread and thread details with the name and whatever you can have. You can use your any kind of implementation within the run method. That's the benefit of it. And this is in a running mode. So just passing the message to make it more labelized. And once this is done, then have a catch exception in case of any kind of error or issues come. So that can be caught here. Since this is an internal process, it is hard to debug in that case. So this will help you to debug the program. Now this is showing some error. The reason, we need to define the exception like this. So this is your run method is overridden. Now next step, since this process is very simple, all we need to just implement the runnable interface, number 1. Number 2, override the run method. And number 3, having the main method. So inside the main method, what we are going to do, just like we did, all we need to have a loop. And inside the loop, we'll create a multi-thread demo class objects to identify individual threads. And here you can mention how many threads do you want to work on. Suppose I made it for 8 or 10. And just increment. And this is our loop. And inside the loop, we are going to create your thread object equal. So instead of creating an object for that particular class, here what we are going to do is we are going to create a new thread. And inside the thread, we are going to call our constructor. So this is how we can create a thread in the help of the thread class objects. And passing the argument in the thread constructor of the constructor of your multi-threading. So once this is done, you don't have to do anything else. All we have to just simple call this object, start, and you can mention for the sleep the same way we did it for the extend class error, because we need to throw the declaration of the exception. Now since you can see we did those 3 steps. First, implement the runnable interface. 2, we override the run method. And 3, we create an object and execute the start method. Now let's take a look at the execution. So here TechCrunch created thread 10 and it goes to sleep and then come back and then goes to sleep and then come back. Now there are so many ways you can improvise these type of applications, switching from one thread to another thread. Okay, so this is what the simple and basic implementation, live implementation of multi-threading using implement Runnable Interface and extend the thread class. So we have seen the demonstration. Now let's see about multi-threading important facts. Thread is a lightweight process which helps in running the task in parallel. Multithreading provides simultaneous execution of two or more paths of a program to maximum utilize the CPU time. Multithreading also helps to execute a complex database query for fetching data, and if you can divide that query into several independent queries. It will also help to provide the concurrent access files handling in application. So this is all about the multi-threading in basic. For more in details, please feel free to post comments and suggest, and stay tuned for more upcoming interesting videos. Let's make coding fun. Thank you.